Hello and welcome everyone to episode 75 of Video Game Club. As always, I am your host Tyler, and I bet you can't guess his favorite Kinstone fusion. It's Austin.
Hello.
Hello, Austin. And our favorite little Minish, Mox.
Oh, hello.
And making his return from the overworld, it's Aaron.
Hello.
Hello, Aaron. Aaron, how have you been?
I've been good, I think.
Nice. Anything you've been playing besides Minish Cap?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in between big games at the moment, but I started playing this game called The Last Spell that I picked up based on the demo. I don't know if anyone's really heard of it. It's like a tactics-based roguelike game where you're fighting off waves of zombies while defending a town. It's all right. I don't know if it's like really got its hooks in me, but it's been occupying some time.
Is there? You said you're between big games. Is there something coming up that you're really looking forward to playing? Or
yeah, I'm an Armored Core guy, so I'm excited for Armored Core 6. I just gotta wait out 20 more days.
I believe in you.
I don't even know what that game is, and you said there's 6 of them?
Yeah. If there's a little company called From Software,
and I have heard of that.
Indie.
A while ago in the PlayStation era, they made games about giant robots. Now they're going back to that.
Huh?
It's cool. You should check it out.
Will it be as big as Elden Ring? Probably not. But
probably not.
Aaron will enjoy it.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's can't ask for anything else. Mox, what have you been playing besides Minish Cap?
What have I been playing? Garden Story. That was in the Humble Bundle Cozy Games, I think that's what it was, that you guys told me about, and then plagued me with Garden Story, which I had to get all the way through, and it's like, I don't know, it's not hard, but it's a lot for a small game, and I don't know, you kind of do chores, and then after your chores, you go and advance the story. But there's a time where you also want time to pass. But if you don't do your chores, even though you don't feel a need to do your chores, like the text box that says you didn't finish your chores says something like, you didn't go and kill these monsters, and they encroached on the space where there are a bunch of your friends, and now your friends are in danger, which is just so sad. But I need time to pass, but I don't want to do the chores because they're so rote after a while. So I backed away from that game and went back to Final Fantasy 16. I'm almost done. Wow.
Dang. Austin, what about you?
I've been recovering from a health issue that I'm basically recovered now, and so I've got a new lease on life, and I'm very happy about that. But for a little bit there, it was just like I didn't even have the energy to play anything.
Aww.
But Mox, you'll be happy to hear I finished the story mode of Pixel Lines.
Yes, now you can do the best part.
I'm not going to do any more of that game because it was giving me nightmares.
What?
And it was causing me problems. I very much enjoyed it, but also that it was causing me very stressful dreams. So I can't play any more of it.
Okay.
Austin plays all the Resident Evils. He's totally fine. Pixel line, so that tips the scale.
I'm really obsessed with a puzzle game. It starts to just like invade my brain to where like I start to see those puzzles in real life. I dream about them, and usually that's fine. But in this, I kept dreaming about these unwinnable scenarios.
Oh my goodness!
And like that would be my entire night of dreams, and then I'd wake up just stressed and not rested at all. And so I had to stop.
Wow.
So I prioritized the story mode, finished it off, and I'm not gonna buy the sequel. I can't play that game ever again. But
Some
it's for the
psychologist
recommendation.
is sitting in a lab thinking, I need to get this guy on my research study here.
But I have been working through Klonoa 2, Iconoclast. I'm about halfway through that one. Remnant 2, I've been playing with a bud. I started Buddy Simulator 1984, and that's interesting. And then Tyler and I have been playing Escape the Backrooms with a couple of my buddies. We restarted last night to pull Tyler in. We got pretty far.
Yeah.
It's like a co-op horror game.
I think we're over halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was pretty scary. It has its peaks and valleys, but them valleys, they're deep. They do go down. I have been playing Arcade Paradise. It's a nice little game. It's on Game Pass. It was in the most recent Humble Choice bundle. It's about managing a laundromat that you're trying to convert into an arcade, and your dad is like strongly against it. He really believes in the whole laundromat. It's really fun, and if you play the arcade games, they'll perform better and make more money, and then you reinvest that money, etc., etc. I revisited Halo Master Chief Collection, just trying to like grind out some achievements there, like weird Easter eggs. And it's been really fun because there's a lot of Easter eggs there's a few that were added into the Master Chief Collection, and then there's some that just like exist that have always been there, and they have achievements around them that I just never discovered. So it's been a really good time. And Mox, I have been playing 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
Isn't it so good?
It is really good so far. I'm only within like the first couple hours, but
who's your favorite?
To the hamburger yet?
No, I have not.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh,
I'm like still. I'm at the nurse's office, and I found this document that
who's your favorite person?
On it.
There's so many of them. You've played at least multiple of them.
I've played 2 so far.
Oh.
Yeah, not enough to really pick. Yeah. But I'm gonna stick with that game, and it's really good. I really like it so far.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Atlas.
Love it.
Yep. Yeah. So this isn't a podcast where we just talk about what games we've been playing. Well, it is, but we talk about a specific game. It's Video Game Club, where usually every 2 weeks we discuss a game voted on by our wonderful friends in the Bombchu Discord and discuss that game right here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV. Except this episode and the last episode aren't on Twitch, but future ones, we'll get there. And because it's not on Twitch, don't worry, it will be on YouTube and all major podcast services. And even if it's on Twitch, it's going to be on YouTube and all major podcast services. Just search Bombchu Video Game Club and you'll find it. Also, if you appreciate what you're hearing, please consider subscribing, rating, commenting, all those things. Jumping into the Discord, voting, nominating a game, because the nominations for this episode came from our wonderful community, and they were Gravity Rush from Rec, The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap from Clearin', and Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door from Chadworthy. Thank you everyone for nominating, and don't worry, Rec and Chadworthy, your games will stay for the next community vote, and we will swap out Minish Cap for another new nomination. So, time to hop into The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap, a 2D action-adventure classic Zelda game developed by Capcom and Flagship. Has anyone here ever heard of Flagship?
No.
No? Austin?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but I could not tell you anything they've worked on.
So it was a small indie. It's a small indie studio that Capcom uses to. From what I read, it was mainly just like for support. The first game they assisted on was Resident Evil 2 for PS1, and the last game was Kirby Squeak Squad.
Have you heard of that? I have not.
I've just heard of it doing this prep.
I didn't play Squeak Squad, but I have heard of it.
It has a different name
seen some footage
in Europe, I think.
Mouse Attack.
Yep, Mouse Attack. That's it. Yep.
Wow.
Are you a big Kirby fan, Aaron?
Oh, I'm a huge Kirby fan, but I did not play Squeak Squad. I think that just was that
Fake
a DS
fan.
game?
Yes,
it is.
Just kind of fell into cracks.
Oh,
it came at a weird time when there were a lot of portable Kirby games.
Yeah, there was like the Canvas Curse. There was
like between
Amazing
GBA and
Hero.
DS, there were just like gobs.
Oh yeah, tons.
And a lot of them were too short to be worth the price.
Yeah, Kirby fans were eating good though.
But Zelda, Flagship did Oracle's Link to the Past and Four Swords. I mean that one, A Link to the Past and Four Swords. They didn't do those two individual games.
Yeah. And of course, Capcom, we all know and love.
Yes.
But Minish Cap wasn't their first Zelda game. They did the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games. Mox, have you played Oracle of Ages or Seasons?
Yes, I love them dearly.
You love them dearly. Would you say they're worth a play?
Yeah, they're going to come out soon on the Switch, and then you can do the stupid password thing.
Oh yeah, they are already actually.
Oh, they're already? Oh gosh, yeah. Just the best.
Aaron, Oracle of Ages Seasons?
No, I actually bought them on the Wii U, and I never played them.
Oh,
I know. So I'll give them a shot. The Wii U. Yeah, right.
Oh. Austin, Oracle of Ages?
I played Seasons. I have started Ages, but I haven't resumed it in a few years. So someday I'll finish it and get that true ending.
Maybe for Video Game Club.
Maybe.
If we do it for Video Game Club, it has to be the linked, like the whole thing. So both games. What
if two people play Ages and two people play Seasons, and then we just kind of...
Ooh, interesting.
I don't like that. I want us all to play them all.
Minish Cap, published by Nintendo, of course. Released November 4th, 2004 in Japan, November 12th, 2004 in Europe, January 10th, 2005. We had to wait quite a bit in North America. And of course, the Aussies, April 7th, 2005. So, 2005, we had the Xbox 360. The PSP came out outside of Japan, and the Game Boy Micro. Austin, did you have a Game Boy Micro?
No, years after it was kind of done, I kind of wanted one, and now that I played Minish Cap on my DS, I'm really glad I didn't get a Game Boy Micro.
Wow. All right. Mox, any of those consoles speaking to you? Did you have any of them?
I didn't have a Micro. I had the SPs, and then Advances, and then Colors, and then regular, just like all of the other ones.
Just not the Micro.
No, that one. Yeah. Well, they like took everything away from it. I didn't.
Yeah, it was kind of. Aaron, did you play? Did you have PSP 360 or Micro?
PSP and the 360. No Micro.
Yeah, no Micro. Yeah. I also didn't have a Micro. I had PSP. I used it for everything: movies, music. Dude, it was so great. Browsing the web.
You didn't play Loco Roco on it.
I didn't play Loco Roco, but I watched a lot of movies and listened to a lot of music on it. It was great. 2005, we had Resident Evil 4, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, Guitar Hero, and many others, including one game that we've played for Video Game Club so far. Psychonauts. Yep.
Wow. The needle in a haystack.
I know, right? Good old Psychonauts. Yeah. It was a late Xbox game.
Yeah.
Psychonauts 2, I still need to play it.
No, you don't need to play that.
I don't need to? Okay, I don't need to play it. Never mind. Thanks, Austin. Protecting me. Minish Cap has sold 1.76 million copies worldwide. It was received very positively. High 8s, 9s. People liked that the classic Zelda style was back. They liked the graphical style, the music. Some of the things that people didn't like, though, that they did not like how short the game was, or the dungeons. They also thought they were a little short. And believe it or not, critics were not a huge fan of the Kinstone system.
No way.
Weird.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, wild.
Wait, I have, before we get further in, I have to share my unrelated fact about this game.
Go, girl.
And just while we're in the kind of unrelated facts territory.
Go.
My favorite thing about this game is I asked a question in the official, unofficial Minish Cap FAQ help topic on GameFAQs 17 years ago.
Oh my God, please.
They pinned that topic because it was the unofficial Minish Cap FAQ help topic, even though it filled with its 500 comments, which means my GameFAQs account has accrued karma simply with that one post for 18 years. And I am karma level elite with posting one post.
Oh my goodness. Can you tell us what the post is? Or do you feel comfortable sharing?
I asked, what do the shells do? That was my question. What are the shells for?
Wow. There you go.
I know.
There you go. That's crazy.
Can you believe it?
That is a fun little factoid. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Can I share one quick little
game
fact story?
Go for it.
Please.
Is it related to Minish Cap?
When I was, it's not related to Minish Cap, but it's of related to something we were talking about before the podcast. When I was a small lad playing through Banjo-Kazooie, I was using a guide to try and find my way around something.
Always needed.
Like you do.
Yeah. And I was just like, it's too hard to go to the computer because the computer isn't near my system. So I'm just going to print this guide out. And I started printing it, and after it had printed like 50 pages, I was like, oh, maybe I should stop printing this. That guide was like 400 pages long. Anyways, that's my story.
I'll ask you. I feel like
I like your story more, but I don't get to tell that one very often.
I think a lot of people have stories about printing out game facts. I had this like folder at school that I would put like guides and little things in there that I needed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. The blue folder. Moxie, you were going to say something? Sorry.
No. I just love hearing about game facts. It was a huge part of my life, pretty much up until it was bought out by GameSpot.
Yeah. Aaron, you have any game fact stories?
That's probably my first online community, really.
Oh, wow.
I joined way too many RPG, like role-playing boards for stuff like Xenogears and Final Fantasy VII. Like that's that and the game facts, best character ever.
Oh yes.
Poll.
Oh
every
yeah,
year.
Block gonna win every time.
Yep.
Yeah, you say that it's gonna come down to Sephiroth versus Link. No, until Undertale came out.
Settle it in Smash.
Undertale, what a great game. All right. Moving on to the discussion, talking about that gameplay. So traditional Zelda experience, you got the overworld, you got them dungeons, even though there's one fake out dungeon. There's items and abilities that you acquire that allow you to unlock other areas. There's a new ability in this game, which is that you can shrink down to the Minish size, which are these little people that we'll talk about when we get to the
ability, obligation,
3 new items that were new to this game, specifically the Mole Mitts, the Gus Jar, the Cane of Pachi. You can duplicate yourself, which was taken from 4 Swords, and there's these fun little things called the Kinstones.
You didn't mention the Rock's Cape, which is my favorite thing in Zelda of all time, and it's first introduced in Seasons, which is the best game of all time.
Oh, well, I was talking about items that were introduced in this game specifically.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The cape was invented in Link's Awakening, not the...
No, the feather was.
Feather, and it behaved a little differently.
Oh, you're right.
The cape.
Oh.
But it was still Rock's feather.
Yeah,
yes.
It was. They gave you the flip. It gave you the jump, but you didn't get the glide.
Right. Yeah. The flip with the glide is very powerful. Mox, do you have a favorite item or ability? I guess it's that one, huh?
Yes.
That's your fave? Yeah.
That's one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. If you're like, which one do you like using when you need to use it, when you're obligated to use it, it's that one. But if it's, which one do I like the best, it's the boots. It's always the boots.
Mm-hmm. The running super fast.
The Pegasus boots.
Yeah. Yeah, Pegasus boots, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I did think that they were a little bit more useful here than they were in Link's Link to the Past.
I don't know what do you mean they're more useful ever? They're always the maximalist useful.
Yeah, but in Link to the Past it feels like there's more of a charge up to start running. And when you run into a wall you just get knocked back really far and it's a big pause and it's just like and in here it felt like it was less wind up to start. So it was like more It was nice. There's
more to do with the boots, though. Like, there's more puzzles that are solved in Link to the Past, where you run into a tree, and then maybe a heart falls out.
Utility item.
Yeah. I
do wish it was not something that you had to assign to A or B, because then I would have used it more.
We have to get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
To get there.
Yeah. Aaron, did you have a favorite item or ability or anything?
I mean, the sword, like the sword. Have to keep coming back to have to keep using.
Oh, you're right.
Like, I don't know. I wish I would have liked some of the weapons to have, or the other items to have some sort of combat effectiveness. Mm-hmm. But the Gus Jar that you get, I think that's pretty clever. Mm-hmm. It could have been used a lot more throughout the game, but as far as like the puzzles that you can solve with it, and just its uniqueness. I liked it a lot.
I like the mole mitts. They were fun.
What?
Mm-hmm.
They have one use.
I like that use.
Goodness.
You can also dig in the ground.
For kinstone pieces.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do like it a lot more than the shovel.
You're right. But I don't know. There's something about the shovel. I don't know what it is.
The shovel just feels really tedious, and like you have to be really precise on where you're trying to dig.
I guess but it's from like an oracle. You can use it to flip the blue things, the spiky guys that you have to use your shield in this game, or the cane Apache. I don't know what it is. I just love that. I miss the shield or the shovel.
Did you guys? So this is a Zelda game with dungeons. Did you have a favorite dungeon, Aaron? Is there one that stood out to you, or a least favorite even?
I guess the fire dungeon was fun because of the minecarts and the minecart animation.
Yeah,
like I could have done a lot of that, or seen a lot more of that puzzle being used. I don't know. Is the clouds a dungeon? Can I say the clouds are my worst dungeon? My least favorite dungeon?
Yeah, you can. The clouds are awful.
The wind palace or the clouds leading to the wind
clouds
palace?
leading to the wind palace.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, that's really bad. Mox, what about you?
Exact same opinion, but all of it together. The cloud area.
Plus the wind dungeon.
Yes. I have the hardest time with like ascending the clouds. Because you have to go up. You could either jump up each one as if it were a rock's feather. But I watched a speed run where if you jump up 2, then you can glide towards the transition point. So I had tried to do this way back, when I played this game in 2005, 2006. Couldn't do it. Fell off into the nothingness. Hated that.
Yeah, the clouds are bad. It was very. It was definitely a low point in the game for me. Austin, favorite dungeon?
Favorite dungeon, I think, was the Wind Palace. Because the puzzles around around Rockscape were pretty fun.
Interesting. Okay.
I liked using the fans. I liked there was like a section where it was 2 platforms that were moving, and you had to keep jumping between them because like was going to get obstructed by different blocks. I thought that was really fun. And the music there, at least for part of it, once you reach kind of the later section of it, it changes. But part of the music there really reminded me of like a Donkey Kong Country song. I need to go figure out which one. So I liked that. I definitely agree. The clouds getting there sucked. The book quest, I'm going to consider that to be similar to the cloud area. That really sucked.
Yeah.
But also the final dungeon was kind of mega balls.
Yeah.
Just for how long it was, and anytime it was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm getting close now, and they'd be like, we're gonna just throw more and more at you. I didn't love that.
Yeah, you thought you were done? Yeah, not this time. Yeah. Austin, you've already touched a little bit about this, but you said that the shrinking to Minish size, you weren't a big fan of that. It seems you thought it was an obligation versus an ability.
Yeah. You were required to use it at certain points, and it would be like, okay, let me go find the spot where I can do it. Let me figure out how I can get to here, because I'm blocked from. It didn't feel like a power up. It felt like you were forced to use. It was a puzzle that you needed to solve to get to another spot, and it was never fun to do those puzzles, at least for me.
I thought that whenever you would go into like the little tunnels and stuff, that was really cute and like really nice to see, and they really thought that through, like what it would be like to be small and all that, and how sometimes the enemies would be there and you would get big and they would be there still and they're tiny. You could just whack them really quickly. That was pretty cool. Mox, what did you think about the Minish?
I like it at first when you're learning about what is the areas that you're looking around at when you're big that affect you when you're small. And you don't really think about it until you're like, oh, I see little small things I need to go through, so I need to start paying attention to that. I like the interplay of that, but it does get tedious, especially because you move so slowly, even while rolling. It's like, why can't they just make it a straight shot? Or, I don't know, give you permanent Pegasus boots as a Minish. But I do like, how you have to play in both realms at the same time. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Aaron? Minish?
Oh, I think Minish was kind of cleverly done in the town. I think that there's
Town
this
was cool.
Like you have the main world, right? Regular sized world. And then the way that they sometimes layer in puzzles on top of that only can be done by small Link, or trying to get the power bracelets, right? You have to kind of go through a couple houses.
Yep.
And you go on this really small journey to navigate an area that you've already walked by a dozen times. Stuff like that was kind of a neat use of it, but really it's very forgettable. And by the end, it had me really asking questions about it. There's a part in the final dungeon where there's like a shrine. They just stopped saying, "Oh yeah, shrines can be in tree trunks and on the bottom of pots." Like shrines are just shrines. They're just out in the open.
Yeah.
There's one in a prison cell next to the button that unlocks both prison cells, and I just couldn't get out of my head how bad of a design that would be for the prison. Like to have this massive, it's bigger than the bed, it's bigger than everything. It's a huge shrine to making one person smaller. I don't know. Yeah. I felt like it was not used as much as it could have been.
Can I ask, so have y'all played Link Between Worlds?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
It's on the list.
So a lot of Zelda games will have this concept of there's two worlds, or two perspectives, or two modes that you can explore the same environment in. Link to the Past, it's Light World and Dark World. You get that again in Link Between Worlds, but even when you're in like the same world, like the Light World or the Dark World, there's places that you can go by flattening yourself onto the wall, and that allows you to access some other spot. And I felt like I enjoyed that power a lot more. It didn't feel like it was an like it wasn't, you were obligated to use it, but I felt more empowered with that than I did with this. Does that make sense? So I was curious what y'all's perspective on that power versus the Minish power.
I have that exact observation noted down about how like a lot of the Zelda games have a layered design between like Link to the Past, Between Worlds, the Oracle games, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time. I agree. Like when you become small, the things you can do are either the same as what you could do when you were big, or less. Right? You can like when you're swimming, you can dive under the water to avoid things. You can roll to go faster. It's really just a matter of getting from point A to point B when you're small in the dungeons, and they kind of tease the ability to go into things and mess with their workings with some of the like the statue guards and that one boss. But they could have really done more where you're getting into the workings of something and you have to do that to go from one area to another, or you're going in and you're like changing the way a gear is turning to change how something in the big world is working.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been great.
I'll have him call you, Aaron. You available to hire?
Yeah, my contracting rates are pretty reasonable.
Okay. That's a great idea.
Mox, what about you?
I agree that like with the with seasons, you change between the 4 seasons and and different things happen in each season, but it feels like the world changes when you do that more than whereas like with the Dark World, you're actually going to a different world, so the world does change in that way. The world doesn't really change with the Minish. You're not even really changing anything. You're kind of just like navigating around stuff. You're not so it was kind of boring in that way.
Yeah, and he's got the same switches to hit when he's small. He's got the enemies aren't really that different. They're bugs, but you don't really notice that they're that different.
You're just kind of limited on where you can go in a lot of ways. I guess you're unlocked to go in some ways you can't as Big Link, but it's I think it would have been great if you could change size at will rather than having to have a spot to do it. And I know that's how they kind of built it around having puzzles. Yeah. But I think it would have felt more like a power if you could just do it at will rather than...
That would have been a nice reward for like getting the blade all fixed up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that would have been a great reward for that.
Well, and it ages, you can only change between the different time periods at certain spots, and each whatever song you get enables you to change it at different spots. And then the final one is like you can change it anywhere in either place, regardless, as long as you're near a spot. I like the progression of that. Like you gain the freedom. This didn't have that.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should talk about them kinstones. Aaron, kinstones?
Yeah. Kinstones. I mean, I think there's a problem with this game of a lot of busy work. There's a lot of backtracking. There's a lot of like talk to this person to talk to this person, like fetch quests that are just baked in. And kinstones are just fetch quests. Kinstones are just a time where you get to talk to somebody and see if you have a thing that matches their thing, and then you get some minor reward. You actually don't get the minor reward. You get access to the minor reward. So you have to go and find it. And then you're like, oh, great, 30 magic shells. Yeet. Like, I'm so glad I went over to this corner of the world map to find this.
Even though I'm maxed out at 999. Cool.
Yeah, I don't care about them, and I feel like it could have been, I don't know, I just didn't like it as a system.
There appears to be like a rarity system with the kinstones. Like green is kind of common, blue, red, and then the gold is like super rare.
Well, gold's story related, yeah.
Oh, story related. Okay. I don't think there's like different rewards based on them though. It didn't appear that way. Like every time I turned in a green, it wasn't like, oh, it's going to be like kind of a lame reward, but it could be. I don't know. Austin, what were you saying?
I noticed that so you mentioned, okay, you did the thing. Now you have to go claim your reward somewhere else. That wasn't just with the kinstones either. Like, I went through the trouble of, I was at the shop. There's a bottle behind the shopkeeper. I'm trying to figure out how to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go through the trouble of doing this puzzle to find my way into his shop as a small Link. And I try to get the bottle, and he's like, hey, that has my dog food in it. And then you offer to go feed his dog. He's like, okay, well, yeah, sure, you can keep it. Okay, so cool. I got this bottle, and I can't use it until now I go across the map to his house to go feed his dog. Then I get the bottle. And it's like, if you're going to give me a quest for this, make it easy to grab, and then I'll go do the quest. Don't make the quest, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, why the extra steps,
don't make it involved
right?
to start the quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that drove me a little crazy.
Mox, kinstones?
My first complaint is that they there's so limited buttons on the device. And why is R also A? And why is A also confirm and using a skill? And then why is L just kinstones?
Yeah.
Kinstones should have been, the kinstone bag should have been an equipable thing, and then we could have used L for something else.
Like a quick select.
Or even, like, I don't know, make it one of the, like, boots or something. I don't even know.
Sure.
Just
or if
else.
you could, like, hold L to swap to different A and B button.
Yes.
Items.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just anything.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Anything other than having it a dedicated kinstone button. Why on earth?
Hey, this mechanic that you guys don't like? Yeah, we're going to dedicate a whole button to it.
Well, especially when R can do multiple things. Like, if you're not facing anybody, you can use it to roll.
Oh, wait.
And then if you're in front of something you can interact with, then it changes what it does, right?
Yeah.
Why are you saying that in a positive way? How many times did you mean to talk to someone and then you turned Minish? Or turned back?
Oh, I would press A to talk to people. But, like, it was nice that I could roll to something. Like, I had a button to roll, but then if I was in front of an object I wanted to pick up, then I could pick that up. And I didn't have to be swapping around.
It was too much. There were too many things for R, and they overlapped, and I did things I didn't mean to do, and I did not like that. So I vehemently disagree with your characterization. But then using L for one thing was awful. But then even the kinstones, like when you play a Link to the Past randomizer and you get a shovel or a mushroom, you're like, it's a fetch or a bottle is a fetch quest. You have to go to the place to use the special thing, and then you have the thing that's underneath the item. This was you have to find kinstones. That's fetch. You have to find the people who need kinstones. Fetch. Make sure you have the right one. Go back if you figure out, because you can't learn this ahead of time. and then go to the place where you unlock. It's like 4 layers. Too much.
Yeah. The one saving grace I'll give for Kinstones is that everybody has unique dialogue when you go to trade Kinstones with them, and then when you back out and you say, no, I don't want to trade, it's really funny to hear like the king of Hyrule be like, oh, I guess you don't want to trade with me. Or like people who are on who are really depressed, and you're like, oh yeah, we'll trade. Nah, just kidding, I don't want to trade with you.
Yeah.
Oh, this just makes sense.
But they also always say, like, do they make some remark about being happy or something like that?
Yeah,
right?
Something lucky will happen.
Yeah, something lucky every time.
Yeah,
something
lucky. Okay. A gold monster appeared. Are you gonna go take care of that?
No, I'm not.
I will. I'll do it.
There was also like the Tingle stuff. Did you guys? That was Kinstone related, right? I'm pretty sure you had to find them.
That is Kinstone. Yeah.
Oh, I branded it to a bunch of Tingles, but I think I only had the right Kinstone for one of them.
I did 3 of them. Mox?
No.
No.
Wait, why? No. Boring.
Yeah, boring.
Kinstone
yeah, true.
sucked.
Any other gameplay stuff you guys want to touch on, Mox?
Well, I guess in speedruns, it is amazing. The main glitch they do is if you use your flute, or I don't know if it's ocarina in this game. When I see it, I see flute.
Ocarina.
If you use it as you're trying to ascend a stairwell, like in the same moment, it allows you to like ascend the stairwell but stay on the map you're on, so that you are now on like an elevated layer and you can just run across the whole level. You can't interact with things when you're on that layer, but you can skip everything. And it's amazing. That's pretty much the main glitch. Another glitch that was really cool is, like, I don't know, I watched a lot of Wind Waker speedruns, and the game killing barrier skip speed glitch is the zombie hover, basically. And you can do the same thing, where you kill yourself in the same frame as, I think you play the flute again, while you have a fairy, and then you can revive yourself, and then you can kind of like move around objects. It was awesome. And there was also some sort of similar, like when you are on the layer above after you've done your flute glitch, you can also interact with doors in a weird way that reminds me of the storage glitch from Wind Waker, which I enjoyed. Which is like you open a door, but you save the door open, and then you save and quit and then do something else. And then aside from glitches, tile puzzles. When you walk around and make the tiles fill with different colors.
Yeah, those are fun.
That's my favorite puzzle.
Oh, okay.
You only had 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them in the Oracle games, though, and every time I get one, I'm like, my favorite.
Yeah, there was only like, what, 2 or 3?
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have more. Yeah, you have to savor. Yeah,
play an Oracle game.
That's true.
Play both of them.
Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
You can see them tiles. Play Link's Awakening DX. There was also some color stuff in there. Okay. Aaron, anything to add? Gameplay?
That I mentioned that, there's one part, sometimes the game gives you these hints, right? Because it's a Zelda game and it has to think you're an idiot. So you have a talking hat, and the talking hat will talk too much.
Yeah.
And there was one moment in the droplet, the frozen droplet, the temple.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, sunlight, that'll really warm you up. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a good hint. You're just mentioning that the sunlight's there and it's warm, so things will probably melt. And then you go into another room and you see a key, an obvious key in an ice block. And the hat has to chime in again. He's like, looks like there's something in that ice block. We should probably open it and take a look. I was like, you had it. You had the bag in your hands. You had the good tutorial tip already set out. Yeah, and I could press select any time, right? To get him to tell me something. So why do you need to like have him feed me the answers to these really rudimentary puzzles?
Yeah.
I was a big fan of your uncle, or the person you're living with, whoever it's supposed to be.
Grandpa.
The grandpa. He would give you tips. One time I got lost and I used them. Yeah. And that was really helpful. The hat tips were terrible, in my opinion.
Oh, I got stuck for an embarrassing amount of time after you would get the bottle, but before it tells you to use the bottle on the water. to get a bottle full of water to feed the thing. I beat this game before too, so this is it was really dumb.
Really
of me
embarrassing.
going back and forth between the two rooms, being like, okay, one guy gave me a bottle, but there's got to be another person in here who gives me something else, because a bottle couldn't possibly be used in this like utility way.
Yeah. Austin, any gameplay tips? Any gameplay things that we didn't...
I've got a few things.
Go ahead.
I liked that there was no magic meter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there was kind of a magic meter. I know. That you use that when you're splitting yourself, and like that's how long you can walk around. I did not like how long it takes you to bring out your clones. I know from watching something else that there's apparently some way that you can speed that up. I did not find that. And it took forever.
Yep.
And usually I would have to do it more than once because it's so sensitive on like making them go away. That also didn't feel like a power. It felt like an obligation every time I found it. It was just like, okay, this is something I have to use.
Yeah.
And I did not enjoy that. I thought it was kind of novel, and I was like, oh, this is a prequel to Four Swords. Who knew? So that was kind of cool, but I didn't like the way that was executed. I was worried that I only had 2 buttons for items because I love Link's Awakening. I hate playing Link's Awakening, at least the original Game Boy one, because you always are having to swap items out. And I think a really smart choice they made here is you don't have to bring out... I think, because I believe in that one, you had to put on an item if you wanted to lift something over your head. You don't have to do that in this one. That's a godsend. And then one of the sword powers you get is you can break pots with your sword.
Yes.
Which, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I did like some of the sword powers that you get. That was cool. My favorite new mechanic in this game, by far, absolutely 10 out of 10 new mechanic, is you can get lit on fire. And when you get lit on fire, you lose control of yourself. You can't stop. You can't leave the screen. You can't use any items. And it's even better when you're in a close quarters with a fire snake, and so you can't control yourself to get away from it. And there's no iframes, so you just keep getting lit on fire, and then you die.
Yeah.
I think that was like probably the coolest new mechanic in this game. And I just absolutely loved it.
It was not clear, like the rate at which I would like run into a fire and just take damage and then put it out versus get on fire. I didn't understand. It didn't make sense. There was no consistency.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So if it wasn't clear, I did not like that mechanic, and also really exacerbated by the fact that there's no iframes in this game. You can just get completely wrecked very quickly.
There are when you roll.
So I'm talking about like when you take damage, you don't like have any invincibility.
Recovery frames, yeah.
Yeah. I will say there was a nice counterbalance to that, which most Zelda games don't have. When you break a pot in a dungeon and it has a heart in it, if you leave the room and come back, it has a heart in it again.
I didn't know that.
And a lot of Zelda games, they don't do that. It'll just be like, okay, well, you already got the heart out of this, so next time you load the dungeon up, we'll have a heart in there. But right now, just go get wrecked.
Yeah.
So that was a nice counterbalance to having no iframes to recover from taking damage, but I think I would have preferred having some iframes.
I thought I would use those all the time. I don't know what you mean there were no iframes.
If you get hit, then you can immediately get hit again.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That didn't happen to me. I specifically remember when you roll through that stupid area on the mountain where there's all those little red things that scoot around, and then when they see you, they go faster. I would run into one and then roll through one.
So if you're rolling, sounds like you're invincible, but if, like, specifically if you're not rolling, you don't get... In most games, when you take damage, you will stop taking damage for, like, a second or two.
Yeah.
And it basically prevents you from just getting spammed to death by something that you're in a collision box with.
I guess
and
I'm
in here,
always rolling.
they don't have that. Yeah, I didn't know that you could roll through enemies, and so I didn't pick up on that. But if you don't roll, then they will just wreck your day.
Yeah.
One other thing I thought about, or I wrote down, was that there's no, like, outside of the puzzle purposes for a lot of the items that you get, they're useless. There's no point, and like the Gust Jar, right? I mentioned in the beginning. You have some enemies in that dungeon that you can like suck off certain like smoke off of them or something, like fluff, and then they're weak, and that's it. Like those are the only enemies in the whole game that are affected by that. And I would have really liked it if I could have used that towards.
There's other
ones.
The gust jar is the one thing you can't say what you're about to say on. The
Really?
moments, I agree.
Because I pulled out the gust jar on a couple enemies, and I never got the desired effect.
You can't finish the game without the gust jar.
Well, no, I understand that. Yeah. I get that in the final boss it's used. Right.
It's used on enemies all the time. Or you could pick up a pot and throw it at an enemy. Yeah. It was like, if I didn't need another item, I would have the gust jar out.
Also, there's some additional enemies that I think you could have used the gust jar on later in the game that you probably didn't realize that you could have used it on. Yeah.
You can also gust them, and they'll, either knock back or kind of be like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what?
That was a gust jar main.
I guess so.
But I agree about the moments. Do you use the moments ever?
We can all agree that the moments, they should have let you attack enemies or something.
Even the cane of Patchy, you could see little holes here and there, but definitely not as much as how useful they were when you got it.
Those were more useful for like exploring the overworld.
Oh yeah.
After you got them, but they weren't. Yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of use in dungeons after that.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody needs that.
All right, for the sake of time, we're going to have to speed through these 4 things that we usually talk about. So I'm just going to go through them, and then people can say their piece on the visuals, the audio, the controls and interface, which we already touched on a little bit already, and performance. I don't think there's going to be much to say about performance, but this game has some really vibrant, nice, beautiful art. The soundtrack was by a Capcom composer, and he did a lot of arrangements from other Zelda games. It's Mitsuhiko Takano, and he did some it featured a lot of music. I think Austin, you said from like Ocarina, but there are a few unique songs to this game that he did, but a lot of them were just arrangements. Mox, all of those things. Is there anything you want to share? Any feedback or your experience with the visuals, audio, controls, and performance?
I already talked about the controls and having not as many buttons, but I'm going to come back to it because it's just awful. And that is my complaint about this is please give us, you have 4 buttons and they really only use 2 of them. Awful.
Yep.
That's it. Move on.
Yep. Aaron?
I would have liked more original music. I think the visuals were great. I think Capcom knows how to make good sprites, and they really showed that off here.
Yeah.
Mox has shared our concerns with the controls.
Yeah.
For the performance, I played on an emulator, get those Chivos.
Oh yeah,
and
me too.
It stuttered. It almost froze when I finished the cloud area. When I got the last teleportation area.
Really?
Yeah. It hung for 15 seconds, like an eternity.
You're right.
And I was like, oh no. When was the last time I did a hard save? Oh no. I would have stopped. It would have been a DNF. If it had crashed there, I just would have I'm not doing that again.
Especially
other than that, it was all fine.
That part is rough. Austin, anything to add?
Yeah, like you said, audiovisual. I would have also liked more original music, although some of the original music they had in there was pretty good, like that Wind Palace song I was talking about. The visuals, this came from an era where they were just using Wind Waker Link for everything, and I was never a big fan of that.
Still to this day?
Yeah.
He's boring.
That's like, why are we using this design all over the place? All
right, Toon Linkator.
I didn't care for that. Well, they were originally going to do like a Link to the Past design for Four Swords Adventures on GameCube, and then they swapped it to all be Wind Waker style, and it drove me just bonkers. I don't know what the obsession was with reusing that design.
He's simple.
For so long.
That's what my hunch is, because he's boring, but he's simple.
Yeah. But the visuals, that's fine. It's GBA. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the GBA visual style.
What?
Wow.
That wasn't. There was a lot of compromises made for games on that system, and I wish some of them would look better. Controls, I played on my DS Lite with the original cartridge, and it was fine. It controls a lot better than like Link's Awakening because of some of the design choices they made. I really do wish that LNR would have been put to better use. But at the same time, I didn't have a huge issue controlling and getting around. My hands just got kind of cramped playing on the DS Lite, so I'm very glad I didn't play this on a Game Boy Micro or something like that. I also didn't love having that small of a screen. I don't know how I used to play on that. And then I guess performance-wise, playing in a DS Lite, if I bumped my system at all, the game would just freeze.
What?
Whether I had it in sleep mode or anything like that. This game has a sleep mode, by the way. One of the Nintendo started putting a sleep mode in their GBA games after some time. You activate it in the menu, so you don't use it by closing your DS or anything like that. But anytime I would save, I would then put it in sleep, and I'd close my DS. And sometimes I would pick up my DS, and it would just be like, nope, your game is hosed. Or I would try to like set it down to go grab something while I was dealing with something else. And so I learned very quickly, if I'm going to pause it, I need to save, because there's a good chance it's going to be bumped enough that I won't be able to continue playing. So that was the only real performance issue that I ran into.
Jeez. All right. Moving on to the story. It takes place after Skyward Sword, but before Four Swords. Mox,
Now,
go ahead, Mox.
Who decided that? There's this like
Nintendo.
The community decides it, and then the community disagrees, and then Nintendo picks things, and then they retro change them. That debatable.
So the timeline's just a mess anyway.
Who cares?
Mox, what did you think about the story of this game?
It's okay. I don't like the Vaddie, any of the storylines involving Vaddie. I think he's boring, and so I didn't. This one's boring too.
It was. I thought it's fine. It's a fine story. It's fine. Aaron?
Yep, it's fine. It's a fine Zelda story. There's a villain, the princess gets turned to stone, the hero's off on an adventure. It's all right.
Yeah. Austin?
Yeah, I mean, you get like backstory of your hat and how he got turned into a hat, and that was fine. It's kind of cool to see, like, I didn't really need to see the origin story of the Fourth Sword, or Vaddie, but I guess it's cool that that's there. I've played through almost all the Zelda games. There's a handful that I still need to work through. So like, it's interesting to see how they link together, and so this was one of the few times where I could be like, oh, I very clearly know where this fits on the timeline in relation to another game. And most of the time that link is not as clear. And so that was kind of cool, but other than that, yeah, it was nothing pulling at my heartstrings or anything during this one.
Yeah.
Now you're saying that I enjoyed the Wind Waker followed by Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. That I feel like is the clearest linkage of all, and way more interesting than this one. But you played those games, so I want to hear what you
kind of so I forget. So Phantom Hourglass is the same link.
It's Wind Waker now.
But then
everything's
Spirit Tracks
covered with water.
Looks like the same link, but it's not him. It's like 100 years later, and it's somebody else entirely, right?
But it's the same worlds with the water and everything. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that in order to progress the story, we all need to go over to Mox's house and play Four Swords.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I already played Four Swords.
We need to play it again.
But you have to play it with everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to play it with the people who can pick you up and throw you on things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's the way.
That is the way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Moving on to our personal takes. Mox, let's start with you.
I'll just go fast. I loved this game when I played it. I really enjoyed the difference between this game and the Oracle games in terms of the like art and how you move around and how you look. And it's like somewhere halfway between the Oracle games and Wind Waker. But I loved both of those two games so much that this was just like half of each of those and not as good. I don't know. I feel like with the Oracle games, when you have all of the different items, each place that you're in really only needs like two things at a time. I'm never going to the menu really frequently. I can walk into an area assess it and be like, all right, I need these 2 things. And I don't have to go to the menu to change things a lot. Here, I was changing things a lot. I felt like more than when I played the Oracle games, which was just so frustrating. I really don't want to go to the menu as much as this was, but maybe it's just me. But in any case, I like the music. I like all the callbacks. There's callbacks to Link to the Past, Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, Four Swords, Ocarina of Time. I love that. It was like a fan game almost. But gosh, it was just like, it's hard to play at times. So, my nostalgia combined with my partial replay, since I didn't want to play it all again, gosh, it's a lot, is like a 7 out of 10. It's a good game, but it's not the best Zelda game.
It's a good game, not the best Zelda game. From Mox. Austin?
Yeah, I like some of the things that they do differently here. Like you said, I like how the way you put it, Mox. It does feel kind of like a fan game. It's which I guess makes sense. It's Zelda made by non-Nintendo, and Capcom
true.
did great, but also like there's definitely some little bits and pieces where it's just like, this is definitely different from what this would be like in a regular Zelda game. I liked the fast travel system. I unfortunately didn't find the one in Hyrule until the end of the game, and I didn't need it anymore. I had to talk to Tyler and was like, man, am I just stupid, or is there no fast travel spot in Hyrule? And he was like, no, you're just a moron. So then I found it, and I did not need to use it any further. But that helped in some of the backtracking stuff. Although there were lots of shortcuts that you were supposed to open up that I either wouldn't find them, or I like didn't want to go out of my way to go do, because I was like, I'm not coming back here, and then I would come back. It was like, oh, jeez Louise. I definitely liked parts of this game. I think it kind of falls off towards in the second half, especially at the end. I'm looking at you count down to get to the boss. That really sucked. I think as a game, I would give this like a 7. As a Zelda game, I think I would give this a 5.
I'm with
Jeez.
I mean, there are worse Zelda games than this, but there are much, much better Zelda games than this, and this is not a great Zelda game. But it is as just a game on its own, I would give it a 7.
All right. 7 from Austin. Aaron?
Yeah, I think 7 is right, because I don't think it's a 6. I don't think it's an 8. I think it is kind of a stopgap Zelda game for the Game Boy Advance. And when I played it on the Game Boy Advance, I spent a lot more time doing the backtracking and going around and getting everything I could get out of the game. And this time through, I was just less interested in engaging with the backtracking, engaging with those fast quests. I wanted to keep going forward, get to a new dungeon, get to a new challenge, and that kind of ran dry pretty quickly. So, and because I didn't want to engage with the Kinstone system, I didn't get a lot of the upgrades. So, not that you need them really, but
Yeah.
I think it was a fine game. I mean, if you're going to play through all of the Zelda games, this is one that you'll play and you'll probably have a good time. I just don't think that it's something that I would, come back to. I'd rather play Link to the Past before this again. Or Between Worlds, Link Between Worlds, or something like that. Yeah, this is just not that great of a Zelda game.
I don't need this to be remade.
Wow. I have not played many of the 2D Zelda games. Like, I've played
Your loss.
Link to the Past, some of it, never finished it. I haven't played Link Between Worlds. Seasons and Ages, both, I've gotten really far, and I think I beat one of them. So I liked this a bit more than you guys. I thought the length was pretty solid. I liked that it was kind of short, but it had some longer stuff if you could. The shell stuff, which we didn't really talk about, was kind of dumb. You just play this little like gotcha game. I did get a hint for a fairy that was pretty cool though with that, so that was kind of nice. I really like the boss where with the hands and you go inside. That one was really special, and I thought that there was definitely some peaks and valleys. The game looked really gorgeous. Music was great. I thought overall it was like just a wonderful like little Zelda game. The cloud stuff is just, it's terrible. The cloud area is awful. If this game were to be remade, they should just remove that. Like, just, don't even go to this other dungeon. Don't even bother. This piece is actually here. We're just going to like remove that dungeon, and you don't have to go to the cloud place either. That place is terrible. It's awful. And I didn't like how the game had like a really good pace until like the end, and it just got really long for no reason. Like it was like artificially made longer at the end, it felt to me. But despite all that, I thought it was a wonderful game, a great game, so great that I gave it an 8. Oof. So maybe I need to play more Zelda games, then I'll be like, man, Minish Cap is awful. It's a 6. I hate it. All right. That was a little dive and our take on The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap. And if you enjoyed hearing us discuss and want to join us for the next one, stay put because the vote just ended and it was between Tome, Melatonin, and To the Moon. And I'm going to check the Discord last minute, and the winner is Melatonin.
Yay!
Thank you, everyone who voted, and everyone for all the like discussions. Everything around Minish Cap 2 is wonderful. And listening and just watching along, thank you. Next episode will be August 20th at 2:00 Eastern. Austin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Mox, thank you.
Thank you.
And Aaron, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
It's always my pleasure.
And special thank you to Andron, working behind the scenes. I'm Tyler, and this was Video Game Club episode 75, The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap, and we're out.